Good evening, everyone. I'm back again for the episode 12 of Expand Your Life. Before I invite the guest, I would like to share a little bit about Expand Your Life and what Expand Your Life does. Expand Your Life is a channel designed and curated by me, Gargi Sarkar. I had actually curated this channel during lockdown. Now, why I did this? I was very clear I wanted to talk to people from different walks of life. And I wanted to understand that during lockdown, how they have worked, what they have done, how they have managed their businesses, what kind of challenges that they faced during that time. All that was happening, right? So people from different walks of life came on my show and they shared how they have altered their way of life right now. And all the people who came have a unique business. None of them have a run-of-the-mill thing that people who came on my show was from. So yes, so it's actually very different. So the channel has people from like DIY artists. We had people like, Yodha, who are animal rescuers. I had a transgender activist. So I had different people from different walks of life. But this year I started off with thinking that in mind that, I would definitely think about this month should be people from walks of life who's actually working on mental and physical health. So first we started with Devansh, okay. He works with the marathon players, okay, and he trains them. So, and along with that, he also takes online classes, right? And this week, I have someone very interesting all the way from Rugby, London. And she'll be here. I'm going to invite her right now, I think 10 o'clock in the morning there, okay? And I'm going to invite her right now on the show. She's going to talk about a lot of things about mindfulness, about, how you need to be calmer. A lot of things that she's going to talk about, and I'm going to ask her questions. Her name is Jolly Knott, and I'm going to introduce her. Okay, she is a holistic therapist, intuitive astrology coach, and a founder of Bodhimindful. Yeah, I'm going to just invite Jolly right away on the show. Just invited her. Yeah, thank you, Spotty Girl 263. I think you're quite an encourager, and I always get some good encouragement from you. And the more encouragement we get, the better our content would become every time. So I've just invited her, and as I said, she is a holistic therapist, intuitive astrology coach, and founder of Bodhimindful. Yeah. And it's very interesting that, every week I have someone who is interesting and who actually talks about things, who actually talks about their challenges that they have faced in their business. See, all of them were doing their business in a certain way before lockdown, right? And how lockdown had changed everything for them, right? And it is so it was quite a challenge for quite a challenge for everybody, how they have been able to change their entire setup during lockdown, right? So how they have altered their way of online. Everything started becoming online then. And also, if you look at the channel, if you see all the posts or all the videos that we have posted and done the shows with, everything was unique. It was never a very mundane business I'm talking about. I had somebody, the transgender activist, right? She talks about what are the challenges that she faced and overcome, and how she's making a difference in the transgender community, right? Then I had someone like a DIY artist. She makes some amazing DIY stuff for hers, and she's just 18, right? So like that, I have people from different walks of life who have actually taken up expanding themselves and expanding their lives. So that's where I have someone this week and today, Jolly Knott, and you just send her a request. She's just going to join me on the show. So guys, I would really request all of you to, participate in all our contests that we do, all kind of questions that we ask. That would be really nice. And share the page with all your friends and family and ask them to join our show, be a part of the show. participate in every things that we generally talk about every week. Okay, so it will be really nice, and I'm so happy, and it's always encouraging for me that every day I get, people from different works of life who joins me, as well as I have the viewers every day. Every day I have viewers from different different works of life. Last week I had some 134 35 people on the show. So it's actually really really good that people are taking interest in the kind of content that we are coming up with every week, right? Finally you could join. Thank you, Jolly. What's the time now there in it's London? What's the time now, right now?
It is 30.
10:30,
10:30.
and we here it's
And
4
actually,
o'clock.
if any of your viewers would be interested in this, but I just need to show you
Oh.
what's happening outside.
Ooh, nice.
So the first proper snowfall of the year.
Nice.
So yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. So I can't see your face.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Jolly. Thank you so much for joining. I was already talking to the viewers, telling them how, every week I have somebody interesting. So this month I took a pledge that I will have people, will talk about mind and body. Okay. So I have you this week, and thank you for joining the show. I'll give you a little background about how we go about it. So I'm going to introduce you and just have a few words, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Of course.
And we will end up with a rapid fire round.
Okay. It's
Great.
an honor to be here. Thank you, Gargi.
Thank you so much for joining. And it was quite a short notice that I spoke to you last week, and then we just got into it and said I would love to have you on my show. Thank you so much.
Yes, it says.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce Jolly a little bit. Jolly is a holistic therapist, intuitive astrology coach, and founder of Bodhimindful. Am I right? Have I said it correct?
That's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Who is your inspiration behind your work?
The work has really been generated organically from myself. From a young age, I have always been interested in the mystical side of life.
Okay.
What is fate? What is destiny? Is there a difference between the two? Where does free will fit in? Growing up in a household where my parents are originally from India, I would hear stories about Indian astrology and how it affected my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation. And there was, this fated aspect that I really wanted to understand. If this is, we're all, once you're born, you will at some point die. But, do we have any control over that? Or is it just all written in the stars? And if it's all written in the stars, then, so if I murder someone, it's not really my fault. It was written in the stars. Right. So that whole idea of, wait a minute, where does free will come in? And, equally, my father was a practicing surgeon. Medicine does run in the family. And again, I wanted to understand, what is the mechanism of healing? At what point does the patient take charge? Is the doctor simply a facilitator of healing, or does the doctor actually do something and the patient is simply a recipient? That didn't sit so well with me. And as we are seeing now, there is a movement in Western allopathic medicine that says, no, in fact, this is a mind-body show. Right. What we do to the body is not simply to the body. The mind component absolutely important as well. Absolutely. Perfect.
So you have been inspired. You yourself actually worked on it and figured out. It was not like an inspiration from family, or you saw people in the family who's practicing it, so you got into it. It's just that you were intuitive. You wanted to understand what's it all about, and you took it on and you studied it and you took it on and you're doing it now, right? Is that so?
That's pretty much the case. I think I'm very lucky because, you know, having been born into a family of Indian origin, I
Mm-hmm.
was, um, you know, encouraged to connect to my culture and my religion.
Nice.
And,
Nice.
you know, my parents, I think, have always been extremely supportive. I consider them both extremely spiritual. And so that spirituality, I think, did into my own interests. But, you know, like
Sure.
parents, I think ultimately spirituality wasn't so much a vocation as simply
Right.
part of life. Whereas for
Yes.
me, I see it as what the gods have invoked for me. This is something that I am here to help other people with.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah.
How did you manage during lockdown? And I'm sure lockdown is still on, and it's, but when it started, I'm saying, how did you manage it? What was the challenges that you were facing, and how did you overcome that during that time?
Lockdown was an interesting shock, to say.
Absolutely, for the world itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I was very lucky because the clinic that I was working with at the time, although they had to close their doors to their brick and mortar building and business, we were able to carry on. Um, you know, there was still admin work to do in the background, which I was able to help with initially. But then obviously that had to end, that had to cease, because according to the government, if you were not in business, you had to cease business. And I had a lot of free time on my hands all of a sudden, which was really nice. And I thought, oh, you know, I've been interested in astrology all my life, but probably
Nice.
really um, following Western astrology in particular from the early 1990s. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, 30 years. And I felt this pull to deep dive into, you know, any astrological texts I could find. There is so much content on the internet now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because of lockdown, there are online conferences that I might not have otherwise been able to attend. Now it's all online, so I can,
Right.
you know, join easily. So that was a real bonus for me. And what I found was that I just turbocharged my learning. The struggle was understanding why I was doing this. You know, it's one thing to, you know, indulge a hobby or something that you love, but
Mm-hmm.
know, I had to kind of figure out, is this something viable? Can I, you know, do something where I'm actually helping people and earning a living, for example? And yeah, I was really concerned about that, to the point where I asked another astrologer to look at my chart and say,
Yes.
I'm making this up, or is there something here? And very fortunately, she said, no, there's so.
Awesome. Great. So, how does Bodhi mindful help in a day-to-day life? And give a little light about Bodhi mindful. You can give us a little understanding of how it works, what happens. It's very new to understand. I'm sure overall spirituality is something everybody understands, but like you've given a structure to it, and how you actually, and how does it help you in a day-to-day life? If you can throw light, that would really help. Yeah.
So, Bodhi Mindful was a name that I um, chose very deliberately because of my conviction that there is a bridge between the body and mind that needs to be actively, intentionally explored.
Right.
So Bodhi is a play on the body. And of course, Bodhi means wisdom. And it is true that our bodies embody, let me try to say this again. Our bodies have an embodied wisdom that society doesn't teach us to actively harness. So with Bodhimindful, I have at the moment just myself, but hopefully in the future I will have other practitioners as well, who bring a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and practices. So for myself at the moment, I use Reiki, I use aromatherapy, and I use traditional Chinese medicine
Okay.
in my practice to actively help people bridge that mind-body gap that I think exists largely due to the fact that society asks us to live in a very particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when we are born, we need the tribe, we need our society, we need to feel like we belong, and in
Mm-hmm.
that way society does offer us something that is very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But society does not support individuation.
Absolutely.
So we have to carve a path
Correct.
whereby we realize that society is asking us for conformity, and we in fact have this authentic self that wants to come out.
Absolutely.
That's not to say that you do it at the cost of feeling like you belong, but again, it's a path that each individual has to carve out for themselves to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, how do I be an authentic person within a collective?
Yes.
And I'm hoping that through my work in Bodhimindful, this is also something that I can help people with.
Right. So, is it very similar to being? I mean, the way I look at it, is it like you being a philanthropist? You have like you when you have people, so you take sessions for people, right? You invite them, and when they go through something, you know there is a process to this. How does it work that way? So it's like how does it work? So if I have some problems, okay, so I come to you, right? So how do you deal with me at that point of time? Say I have some emotional problem, I'm just giving you an example, right? So I have some emotional problem, so I come to you and I say, listen, I'm going through this emotional stress in my work or whatever, right? So how do you deal with that? Like what is that you do? Is there a process to it in this? How does it work?
That's a great question. And I will preface all of this by saying that the business is very new. So I am in the process of constantly adding to the structure. But
Okay.
really, for the moment, it is that I have an offering of astrology and Reiki. And at the moment, I'm allowing clients to self-select which aspect
Okay.
they would like to work with me on. Um, I am in the process of also adding a new offering, which is going to be probably called Integrated Energetic Soul Coaching. And
Okay.
this falls somewhere between astrology and Reiki, in that I am drawing on my experiences and my travels and everything else that I have to offer in coaching people, uh, particularly young women, because of course
Mm-hmm.
that's the experience that I have the most to offer with. But I would never say no to any kind of male client if they felt drawn to what I have to offer. Um,
Right.
the idea would really be to help them understand where they are in their lives, how they fit within their lives. If you said to me, for example, I am having these relationship issues,
Mm-hmm.
then with the energetic soul coaching, we would sit down to really understand, well, what is it that you want?
Correct.
At what point are you taking on what your family wants? At what point,
Correct.
for example, maybe FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, all
Yep.
my getting married, I have to get married too.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
So all of these points are become such a tangled knot that
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to kind of unpack it so that we
Right.
understand, well, where are you in all of this? What do you
Right.
want? Because at the end of the day, what I really have always loved, and I think this comes out of Plato's Republic, that what is a teacher? A teacher is someone who helps you remember what is already inside of you, within you,
Right.
right?
True.
So my role is more of that kind of guiding process. I'm helping you uncover the knowledge and wisdom you already have.
Hmm. So basically, what you're doing is whatever barriers somebody has, that you are removing those barriers. Basically, everybody has everything. Like you are whole, complete. You're whole and complete, right? So as humans, we are all whole and complete.
Mm-hmm.
But what there are some barriers that we have. Those barriers is what you are actually taking those barriers away from the person, right? To make that person uh, I mean, is that so that you're, and that's what what I understood from it.
Yeah,
Like,
no, no, I would only clarify that I'm not removing barriers. I'm simply helping you see what they are.
mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm not
Okay.
removing them because ultimately that is the individual's choice.
Yeah, that's the person's job to do that.
That
But you're basically guiding the person. Yeah.
exactly,
Perfect.
exactly.
Perfect. Perfect.
So
I
it's
got it. Got it.
a person,
So
but you can't know what to remove if you don't know what it is.
correct. Absolutely. Like you basically show the blind spot because we all have our blind spots. We don't because we can't see the blind spot.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who guides us to see that blind spot, and that's what you're actually guiding the person to see the blind spot, and then you ask the person, now see what you do with it. Either you keep it or you remove it and see how beautiful your life would be. So I get what you're doing, and it's actually amazing. And also, is it has a lot of affirmations part of it, like what I believe in Louise Hay. I don't know whether you have heard about her. She's someone I have done sessions with her. I have actually done programs, and I really believe in her. So a lot of affirmations that really works, which she talks about in her journey, and how every in our body, in every aspect of our body, like how you affirm yourself. Like you get up in the morning and stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself that you are amazing, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, or whatever, and you go on repeating about yourself. So some stuff like those, like positive thought process, affirmations, does those work in life, in everyday life? If you do it, it's just a question I'm asking.
I think they do. They have their place.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, again, for me, a large component of my work is nervous system education and health.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
need to understand how our nervous system functions within the body and
Right.
how, again, that is sometimes managed by the mind, but not always. So, in other words, we cannot access any of our issues or trauma purely through the mind
Right.
because these things become embedded in the body. So,
Right.
the work has to be, and this is not to take away from psychotherapy or any of those tools, they have their place. But what I'm proposing is that you have a more holistic understanding that
Mm-hmm.
simply doing the work here is only doing part of the work.
Right.
And we need to include the body. So with affirmations, there is definitely a path. one of my favorites is, and I love Louise Hay, and she was definitely one of my entry points into this work. But one of my favorites is actually from Deepak Chopra, and he
Okay.
has a beautiful exercise in which you look at the mirror, and I think it's called something like the Let My Eyes Shine.
Okay.
Shining eyes, I think that's what it's called. But essentially what happens is you, every time you look at the mirror, you say, no one is above me. No one is beneath me. I am fearless in the face of any challenges. So simple and so beautiful. And I guarantee if you can have someone say that, even just 3 times a day, do it in the morning when you wake up, do it after
Yes.
you eat lunch, do it before you go to bed. You will see within 30 days there will be a difference. Because there is something to be said. When we speak to ourselves, when we look
Yes.
into our own eyes, there
Absolutely.
is without a doubt a chemical reaction that takes place. You know,
Absolutely.
that's alchemy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I'm a huge believer, but I would add the caveat that it's affirmations on their own are not enough.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Got it. Absolutely. Great. Okay, so what are your future plans? How you want to take your Bodhi mindful to different countries or different cities? How you want to go about it? How you want to spread it?
Yes. Well, it's really exciting to think about, and there's so much to think about. I would eventually like to potentially sponsor or sponsor conferences, be in conferences,
Mm-hmm.
because as much as it is wonderful to be able to do work online, there's no substitute for face-to-face meeting.
Absolutely, I agree.
So,
You,
but
you
having said
nailed it.
the fact that we are able to meet like this online is huge, and I never want take that for
Take
granted.
that away. Yeah, true.
So whilst we're in lockdown, certainly here in the UK, my ideas are to look into building kind of online workshops. I have been asked repeatedly to do some kind of basic astrology workshops because there's so much content out there, and some excellent astrologers who are delivering that content for free.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a basic understanding of your own chart, it can be a little bit daunting to try to follow what these astrologers are saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking into building some basic workshops I'd like to offer. As I said, I'm working on also creating an offer, which is the integrated soul coaching, energetic soul coaching, and that would entail, I think, a couple of different tiers. So, for example, if you are a returning client, then we could do a 15-minute session because I'm already familiar with your background.
Right.
Clients, it would obviously have to be a bit longer. So I'd like to build in possible tiers with that. And then finally, I'm a huge proponent of Reiki. I've been studying and practicing since the early 2000s. So I'm hoping to build a level 1 and level 2 Reiki training that I can offer. A big hurdle is that a lot of the Reiki associations and federations and councils and whatnot at the moment are not accepting distance attunements. So you can have all
Okay.
training, but this is meant to be an oral transmission, and the actual attuning process where you kind of get the download of energy that is meant to occur in person.
Okay.
And I've been very fortunate. My attunements were all done when I lived in Japan, and I can say having it in person, I mean, it's such a powerful experience. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you miss something, you lose something when you do it online. So that's a little tricky bit that I need to research further and learn more about. But, for now, I'm still thinking about putting some kind of basic training that will, again, encompass the nervous system, education, and health, which is so basic to everything that I do. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then also my interest in astrology, in crystals, and aromatherapy, medical qigong, which comes from traditional.
So, how does astrology help in day-to-day life? And if somebody can read astrology, then how does it help in day-to-day life? If you can just throw a light on that a bit.
From my perspective, and again, this is I want to preface this by saying that I understand this is not for everyone. It's not everyone's, and that's fine. This is something that if it resonates for you, then it's a lot of fun to get into. So, for example, we recently had, again, from a Western tropical astrology point of view, the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. This happens every 20 years, roughly,
Mm-hmm.
19
Mm-hmm.
point to be exact. And this great conjunction happened on December 21st. It happened in the sign of Aquarius. And this is a very big deal because this is the first time in 800 years that we have now moved into this conjunction happening consistently in air signs.
Okay.
Now, if you understand where that conjunction is falling in your chart, so if you have an accurate birth time, it means that we can divide, again, this is speaking from a Western tropical astrology point of view, we can divide your birth chart into 12 houses. Each house
Mm-hmm.
represents an area of life.
Okay.
And we can see, where does that conjunction fall? So, for example, in my case, that conjunction falls in my fourth house. The fourth
Okay.
house represents themes to do with family, origin, ancestry, the home, real estate. So, from there, we can start to mix and match themes. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, learning, and grace. Saturn is the planet of structure, discipline. It can also represent restrictions. So, here I am, again, you could almost say accurately, I'm sitting in my home during lockdown, expanding my mind, Jupiter,
Yeah.
whilst I'm restricted because of the pandemic. And that is the conjunction sitting in my fourth house. When we can understand, from my point of view, where the energies are sitting in our charts, I think we have a better opportunity to surf those energies in our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
From my perspective, the planets are like a clock.
Right.
The clock doesn't make time, the clock simply indicates time. And
Right.
same idea that we have an indication of what's going on. Another astrologer on Twitter recently made a beautiful analogy saying that it's like weather forecasting. I'm helping predict the conditions, but it's a forecast. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen exactly one way or the other. I'm simply saying this is where the conditions seem to be. What are you going to do with it? If I'm saying I'm forecasting rain, well, you can prepare by taking an umbrella.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a precaution that you take. Yes.
It's exactly, you
Yeah.
are better able to effectively operate when you have the information to help you go about your day. If I know it's going to snow all day, I'm going to make sure I've got my winter boots on. If it's going to
Correct.
be super, super hot that day, I might take an extra change of clothes in case I get too sweaty and I need to,
I know. Right.
So it's about having that extra information
Mm-hmm.
and utilizing it in such a way that it helps be more effective, more efficient.
Perfect. Got it.
Mm.
Got it. So I have one question. This has always been in my mind that I always think that uh, so one is you're forecasting something, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of times it happens is people get paranoid about it, that future. So they start thinking about it too much. Not really, so what they do is they start thinking about it and that makes it happen for them. Like if something bad, some bad news that you said, okay, 5 years down the line, something will happen to you. Just as an example. Now you start thinking and putting all your energies that, oh God, this is going to happen to me. This is going to happen to me. So you rather than taking it as a pinch of salt and taking precaution, what we all start doing is we start thinking about it and actually making it happen for us.
So my response to that, and this is something that I've been
Yeah.
developing myself. Many astrologers might not actually agree with me on this, but my
Mm-hmm.
is that as with almost anything really, we have a lower octave and a higher octave,
Right.
a spectrum.
Right.
So just as I said, Saturn, for example, Saturn's energy does represent, in its lower octave, let's say, it can represent loss, decay,
Mm-hmm.
constrictions,
Right.
right? But in its upper octave,
Directive.
in the higher
Yeah.
octave, it represents structure and discipline and authority.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are looking at a chart and doing a consultation, it's imperative to say, look, here is the spectrum. This is what you are, these are the cards that you have to play.
Right.
So in its worst case scenario, it could be X, but in its best case scenario, it could be Y. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what you want to happen, this is for me where free will comes in. It's down to you.
Yes.
So, let's just say, for example, oh, I can see an illness, in the
Uh,
future. But again, I do appreciate many astrologers will probably disagree with me on this, but from my perspective, it's like, okay, there is a possibility that you will be somehow incapacitated, okay? Rather than saying you're going to be ill, you are going to be somehow incapacitated, okay? And, perhaps this is connected, it's in your sixth house, it has to do with health. So for me, that would be like, okay, what can I do about it? Well, you need to take care of your diet. You need to take care
yeah.
of your ability to exercise. You need to take concrete steps so that when
Correct.
it gets to that point, the incapacitation is actually, oh, I just have to spend a day at the hospital doing a full medical check, and actually I'm fine.
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying? So as opposed to, oh, I'm in the hospital because I'm feeling really poorly, and now
Uh,
I'm doing all these tests because something's wrong. We that spectrum exists. Where you fall on that spectrum is directly due to how you exercise your free will.
Absolutely. So that's very, very important. I think you've answered it beautifully, because I think what goes wrong with people is then people start saying, why should I know about my future? I don't want to know about my future, and get upset about it. So it's actually how you exercise your mind post that is very important. Like, after you get to know about this some illness or something, you start working towards it. You said, okay, no, and this is what the state is. I would like to work towards it to make it happen. Then it's not happening. So I really work that I do my exercise, I eat properly, I run, I keep my mind, sane. I'm positive all the time. All that will be a part of life that it doesn't really happen. That's what it is. Great. I think, Jolly, we have got some good answers from you on this. Now we get into some fun time, and I'll ask you a few interesting questions, and I would like you to answer them in very short and crisp. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So what are your top 3 books and why?
Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. She has this beautiful way of looking at how people operate. And you know what?
Right.
Even though it takes place in, early 19th century England, her insights apply to everyone, every culture that I've come across, everyone. She has I would have loved to have met her because at the age of 20, she wrote this book and
Yes.
insights are phenomenal. Another book. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. I had
Yes.
to read that book at the end of my secondary school. I was doing a project on India, and I loved this idea that just as India is born at the stroke of midnight, August 15th, 1947, a baby boy is born. And his life mirrors what India is going through in its post-colonial life. So, that magic magical literary literalism, I think is what it's called, maybe. But it's such an amazing book, and if your listeners haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I think the third book would have to be The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank.
Okay. Yes.
There was a time when I was studying the Holocaust, and to me, it represents, again, that spectrum of the most despicable side of humanity and the most courageous side of humanity, the ultimate beauty that can exist. And I don't think anybody can read that and not be moved by, the beauty of what she had to say and observe. So yeah, I think those are my top 3 books.
Wow, amazing. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Okay. Philosophical, for sure, because I would endlessly debate philosophical.
That runs in the family.
I think so. I think so.
Yes, continue.
One thing I had to really work on, certainly when I was first trying to start a family, was self-compassion. And then by extension, compassion to others. And it's so easy for us to think that we have empathy for others, but I think that the minute you think you do, you're barely scratching the surface. So for me, compassion is a constant area of study and reflection. But I'd like to think that I've come some ways since that time. So I'd like to call myself compassionate. I think it certainly helps bring, it helps me with my listening, my ability to listen to my clients and connect with them. So
Awesome.
And then third one, studious. I can't stop studying. I love studying. It drives everybody crazy, my husband in particular. But I'm the eternal student. So
nice, very nice. That actually, see, because you're studious, you always try to understand new things, get into new things. You're doing something interesting, so it's great. I mean, learning has no end in any ways, by the way. So it's absolutely great. Great.
I agree with you there.
What one thing you would put on your bucket list?
I have, in all my years of visiting India, and unfortunately it's been almost 7 years now since I last visited, but I've always been interested in some of the surrounding countries. And in particular, I have a very good high school friend whose family have been intimately involved with Bhutan. So I would love to visit that country. And I'm very interested in Tibet, so I think those
Yes.
countries, if I could tie in a visit to India with those two countries, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so when are you planning it?
I'm
Obviously,
working on it. I gotta get out of lockdown first, but
I
yeah.
know. I know. Okay, so you are on a desert island.
Mm.
Food and water are plentiful. What are your top three items to have?
Right. Okay. So I think, what would I want? I absolutely adore Shakespeare. And in
Okay.
fact, very lucky because I live down the road from where Shakespeare was born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want a complete anthology of his works because I think
Okay.
definitely for me, be entertaining. You have everything, right? Tragedy, comedy, romance. It's got the whole nine yards. I would want. Oh, I'm going to sound so old to some of your listeners. I'd want a CD player.
Don't worry, we all come from that era. That's okay. CD, I know, but the viewers are all not. We have the youngsters also in my show, but yeah, CD and even the tape recorder. I still
Oh,
remember.
that recorder! That's what I would want. It would be a double.
Oh, lovely with a reel in that, and you.
Yeah. I just,
It gets stuck when you use a pencil.
yes, rewinding.
Oh my God, that's like I don't know how many of I mean this generations have not seen that. It's a very, very different experience altogether in any way. So yeah.
But
Wow, lovely. And what else?
to have that, and one thing that I've always been in love with is actually movie soundtracks.
Uh-huh.
So I think if I could have that CD player and my movie soundtracks, and it's really interesting that you said about the cassette. Do you remember I used to record off the radio and the TV?
Yes, I'm
And
sure.
the BBC, right? That's what you did. And the
Yeah,
BBC
yeah.
years ago had a series about Africa, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead music for this series was so beautiful. It was extraordinary. And I recorded it. I still have the tape, but I have nothing to play it on. And I've tried going into the BBC archives. I can't find it anywhere. So, I'm holding on to this precious tape in the hopes that one day I can play it and listen to this music.
It's priceless. Trust me, those are priceless. Wow, lovely, amazing. And you're stuck for almost a month, in this place, in the desert island.
Okay, so then the only other thing I would definitely have is my astrology books.
Ah.
So I think that what's really wonderful is that you can take the time to actually look at various charts, and you can see what's going on. Yeah, that would round me out. I could have my movie soundtrack. I could relax here and do my studying. I'm all set.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, who do you admire the most?
Right. That's going to be more than one person, Gargi. I'm sorry. Right off the top of my head, one person who's very recently come into kind of my sphere of knowing, if you will, is the poet Amanda Gorman, who delivered the poem for the inauguration of the 46th President of the United States. She's 22. She is, I think, recently they made a designation for young poet laureate or something like that. So she's one of the youngest to ever speak at an inauguration. She grew up with a stutter.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously didn't let that stop her to get to this point where she is radiant, wearing this beautiful yellow coat and delivering the most gorgeous poem. And again, if your listeners haven't listened or delivering it, certainly look it up online just to read it, because it is a beautiful, beautiful poem. So I've got a girl crush on her at the moment. She's so gorgeous.
Lovely.
I'm also a huge fan, sticking with the poetry line, I'm a huge fan of Tagore. And how could I not? My parents are, my family are Bengali, and Tagore has always been in my life, you know, the particularly through song. But, you know, he is someone who, again, going back to what we were saying earlier, he was able to carve that authentic path where he was true to himself, built a community, and maintained it throughout. And, you know, how could you not admire that, right? You know, that's true. It's like, one day I want to be like him. So that, yeah, definitely. And then I think the third person would have to be, I have to pull in this strand from Japan, because I spent 20 years there and it's such a big part of my life. The founder of Studio Ghibli. So his name is Hayao Miyazaki. He created some beautiful, beautiful films. And they all explore different themes that we all encounter in life. And he mixes these themes with this beautiful Japanese anime artwork, and so whole kind of feast for the senses in a way. So yeah, he's someone that, again, has created something that is so unique to him and yet has such a huge following and means so many different things to so many different people. And I love that. Love that.
Awesome. Wow. Very profound.
Okay.
Okay. So if you could steal credit for any great piece of art, song, film, book, etc., which one you'll claim? Yeah, which one you'll claim? Yeah. So you want to take credit for a great piece of art, song, film, book.
Okay.
Which you claim?
This is going to sound very, very strange maybe to people, but I had to do a project in primary school, and I had to do I had to research a French artist, and I chose Georges Seurat. He's known for something called pointillism. He paints by making all these dots on canvas. And so consequently, one of my favorite paintings of all time is A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte. I mean, yeah, what a mouthful. But funny story with this one. He's a French artist, right? So when my sister was living in Paris and I was living in London for grad school, I used to go visit her in Paris and literally went from museum to museum to museum looking for this piece of work, you know, this artwork, because I'm like, he's French. It's got to be here somewhere. And I remember one day in particular, my feet were killing me. It's like all those French cobblestones. And I ended up at, I think it was l'Orangerie. And I remember finally breaking down and asking one of the curators or custodians, you know, could you help me? I'm really looking for this artwork. I can't find it anywhere. And he said, ma chère, it's not here. It's in America. It's in the art in Chicago. And I just went, wow. So I actually was fortunate enough to live in Chicago. And one of the first things I did was go find out, go to the institute and go look at the painting. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. What is the last gift you gave to someone?
It's going to be, it was my husband's birthday last week, and I gave him a bicycle helmet.
He's excited about it?
He was actually, it was on his wish list. So he was
wow.
very happy. So yeah, I know it doesn't sound like much, but it's something he wanted. So
So he wanted it and you gifted it, so it worked. Best.
exactly. The only problem is we're in lockdown, so he can't really go anywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's you know, he can wait until.
Yeah. So we finish the interview and you step out the office, find a lottery ticket, which ends up you winning with $10 million. What would you do? Yeah.
Like my first instinct, like, go out there and buy every single astrology course and book that I can find. But I think in seriousness, I would want to establish a non-governmental organization.
Okay.
And focus potentially on a number of issues. But one issue that has really, really been bothering me, particularly with lockdown, is homelessness. Mm-hmm. So I think I would start. I think I would establish an NGO for homelessness. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay.
Maybe a little bit for the
and nothing else for you, for anybody else, only for. I mean, that's a nice thing, actually.
No, that's a good point. I think I would try to put maybe some of the money aside. I would love to be able to give back to so many people who've given to me over the years. My family, certainly would pay for a couple of trips to India, which would be great. So, yes, maybe I could squirrel away some of it and then put the rest of it to the NGO.
And maybe also visit Bali, maybe in the middle.
Bali is one of my favorite places on the earth. I'm really, because the first time I was there was 1988. Mm-hmm. So I've really seen how much that island has changed over time. Mm-hmm. But it still has, its beautiful, beautiful places in it. And there's a feeling on Bali. I can't explain it, but there's this kind of magical quality. And, mm-hmm. When we were living in Asia, we used to go regularly. Obviously, it's...
I'm sure. Yeah.
But it's just such a beautiful, magical place. So yes, I'm all in. Let's go to Bali.
Yeah, let's go to Bali. Okay. Describe your life using film titles.
Okay. Star Wars. Has to be Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm going to have to bring in Ghibli, Spirited Away. Because, it's Spirited Away. And then I think the last one would have the Jodie Foster movie, Contact.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but I think Star Wars lit me up. It started me on this journey, about the universe. I was spirited away, and then I made contact, and here I am.
Awesome. It's connected, by the way. Yeah?
It is.
You've connected the dots.
I connected the dots.
Yeah. See? Worked. Okay. How do you define happiness? What's your definition of happiness?
That's something I think about a lot. Excuse me. For me, happiness is being in a constant state of gratitude. I think that you cannot really feel happiness if you aren't thankful for something.
Absolutely.
And, we hear a lot about how a great practice is to have a gratitude journal, wake up every day and just write 3 things you're grateful for. Or before you go to bed at night, just write 3 things that happen in your day that you're grateful for. But it's developing this mindset where you are constantly interacting with your environment and aware of, how much you have to be thankful for. So,
true.
Yeah. I think that's my,
Nice.
like I'm thinking right now, I'm so happy. And it's because I'm speaking to you and I'm talking
Thank
about love and, couldn't,
Yeah, it's right. It's so nice. It's actually beautiful. I mean, when your gratitude really makes a lot of difference, and you're thankful for what you have, and thankful, and then it's not that when you're thankful doesn't mean that you're not asking for something for yourself, but you're thankful. First, you need to be thankful for what you have, and then ask for it, or work towards something to get something for yourself post
I
that.
think we're thankful when we are living in a state of, a state of mind where we are constantly grateful.
Yeah.
You magnetize
Mm-hmm.
more of what you are grateful for.
Right.
You enter that frequency and you magnetize it so that more
Absolutely.
comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True. Got it. Great. Three things you want to change about yourself.
Oh God. um I need to get off this roller coaster where I just think I need to constantly lose weight. I'm hoping I was skinnier. In fact, I have clothes from like 30 years ago that I refuse to release because I keep thinking one day I'll fit into them again. It's a bit silly, I know, but anyway.
It's okay. You're wishing. It's absolutely fine
Yeah,
to wish. And you can. You never know.
absolutely. I mean, I think, or worst case scenario, I give it to my daughter. I mean, I'm not too worried about that, but it's that idea that, we're all susceptible to the conditions, the laws that are imposed on us from society.
Right.
Every time I turn on the TV, I am downloading 3,000 laws about how to be, who to be, what to be, how to look. And it really takes, I think, constant introspection and strength to just go, no, this is where I draw the line.
Absolutely.
I want my tribe to support me, but I don't want the tribe to dictate
Yeah.
how I look.
True. And today, I think more than TV, it's social media. So you look at an Instagram feed, you have somebody saying something, somebody's talking about something. There's so much of information already there in the social media space, be it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google. You have so much of information all over. And you basically, everybody is bombarding things to you. This is how you're supposed to be. This is what. And then people get carried away on that. It's up to you. You want to take it on. What do you want to take it on and draw a line for yourself to whatever that you want to do it on. That's about it. Yeah, great.
But it's so hard though, isn't it? To particularly
It is.
young people. And I don't mean this in any kind of patronizing way, so I hope it doesn't come across that way. But I think as you get older, your priorities definitely shift.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
no, I have, from my perspective, battled my weight all my life. I'm also at a point where I'm much more comfortable with my body now than I was 20, 30 years ago. So, it's understanding maybe in a way that we need to have this kind of yoga perspective, right? You want to have this, you want to get out of being in the trees and look at the forest and go, actually, you know what, that in my list of priorities, I don't want to be spending so much time and energy on that. It's important, but not that important. Not so important that it's like in my top 5.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Got it. Great. So now we complete the rapid fire round, and now I would like you to yes, good. Sorry, there's no hamper. Even if it is, I can't send you one. I can send you one to Rugby, London from here on the flight schedule. When the flights start, I'll think about it. Yeah, okay. So, one is thank you so much, Jolly, for coming on my show, and it was really, really very good that you came on my show and something interesting that you talked about. And I really wish you all the best for your future plans and what you're planning to do. And I would like you to share what you want the viewers to take back for themselves.
So, one thing that we didn't get into, I think, enough is the idea that, going back to the whole mind-body connection, which is really integral to my work and I think everyone's life here on planet Earth, is the idea that our nervous system is a biological component that is something we need to understand. We need to understand how it works, how it functions, and understand that often, the choices that we make, people talk about the subconscious.
Right.
Right? Programming from when you were a child. But that programming is not only in your mind, it's in your body.
Right.
So, and it's for everybody. Some people, there's something called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. I think it was done by Kaiser. It's probably about 10, 15 years old now. But it talks about how if you had one adverse childhood event or experience, which might be, I don't know, your parents shouting at you, or it could be you had your tongue taken out, right? It could be surgery. If you have 4 ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, your susceptibility to disease goes up 2-fold. If you have 6, it goes up 4-fold. If you have 8 or more, it's actually an exponential rise.
Right.
The good news is that we have something called neuroplasticity. We're able, our brains are constantly reformulating in a way. We stopped at a certain age. And now we know that even an 80-year-old can change their brain.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Right?
So
I think for your listeners to take away is understanding that, we all have experiences that are maybe not so good, less than pleasant, that have affected us in some way. This affects our ability to be resilient. And resiliency is something that helps us when we are making decisions, when we are making life choices. If you are in a constant state of fight, fight, or freeze, the sympathetic arousal, what happens is your prefrontal cortex gets cut off and you are operating from your amygdala. Okay, so going back to what you were saying, oh, you told me I'm going to be ill. I'm going to be ill.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I can think about is I'm going to be ill, right? That person is going to think that way because they're in a constant state of reactiveness.
Absolutely.
They can't work with their executive functioning, their prefrontal cortex. So what I would want people to understand is we need to really all work on our mind-body systems. We need to understand our nervous systems and understand where we can increase our capacity, become more resilient, and therefore make better decisions. And you can do that as a starting point through a number of different modalities. Find the one that works for you.
Does meditation work well? Meditation, if you do meditation regularly, does that help? Because I see it helps. So it just like, regular meditation, morning, evening, and I think it calms your mind and body quite a bit.
Meditation is a phenomenal tool.
Absolutely.
Having said that, meditation in the way you're describing, I think, like for
Mm-hmm.
example, TM or other forms of meditation where you sit still, that is not for everyone.
Okay.
And there are so many, I have within my own, client base, I have many clients who are like, I can't sit still. What am I doing wrong? I've been, everyone keeps telling me I should meditate. And I look at their chart and I'm like, yeah, because you're not built to sit still. Your meditation has to happen while you're running or dancing
Mm-hmm.
or doing some kind of work where you are in a way on automatic pilot and your
Mm-hmm.
mind simply is.
Mm-hmm.
Is.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to happen just sitting at home, that's not the only way meditation
I
happens.
understand, but that's a good perspective. I think that's a something new that you have actually shared, which is really nice. That meditation does not always have to be you're sitting and because a lot of people are fidgety. Like I'm quite fidgety. Okay, I'm not a person who's going to be sitting in one place, and so I try all my this thing to meditate. But I think you're absolutely right, and what you said is very very interesting. That meditation does not always have to be sitting and doing something on a certain way. It can be other ways, like you're running. Like I go to the gym, I run. I do a lot of things which actually can be meditation for me in that space. I
The
agree. I think that's
difference is your intention.
absolutely
So,
correct.
for example, I end up washing a lot of dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and you can wash dishes, or you can intentionally go, I'm washing
Yes.
this bit of my week away. I'm washing this part of my, you know, yucky conversation out. I'm taking, do you see what I mean? It's like, I can sweep the floor, or I can really sweep things out.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I
That
get it. It's
space makes all the difference, I think.
very nice. Good perspective, I think. I really like the perspective. Thank you so much. Great, Jolly. I think it was a great, great evening. I think, we've actually surpassed time. This is the first time I've surpassed time.
I'm
And
so
I
sorry.
didn't even, no, that's okay. I did not even see that we have surpassed time. We generally do it from 4 to 5. And today we have actually 5:10 India time. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for being in the show all the way from Rugby. And we had a great time conversing, and there's a lot of learning that we had. And even I think a lot of viewers went on joining, and I can see a lot of people. So if viewers, if you have any questions, you can ask, or you can even send a mail to expandyourlife@gmail.com. And you can even, I can pass it on to Jolly, and we can get the answers, and we can have a that is possible. So thank you, Jolly, and please follow Bodhi Mindful, the page link which is already there, and expand your life. We'll have somebody else next week or next to next week. We're still working on it. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye. You have a great morning,
Thank you.
and it's already 5. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye. Bye, guys. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care.